we're just going to run through some of the basics of using the Desmos matrix calculator here. So to be able to access it, if you just go to Desmos, that's usually just going to default to the graphing calculator aspect of Desmos. So there is a specific place where you can do just matrix related sort of stuff on Desmos, and so kind of the best way to access that is just if you go to Google, and then in Google you can just search for Desmos, but then also type in the word matrix, and then your top search option right there, matrix calculator, would be what you'd want to go into here. Alright, so in order to input some matrices that you want to use to be able to do some math with, then you can hit this blue button right here to introduce a new matrix. It's always going to automatically name the matrix for you, and I'll start with A and just kind of go alphabetically from there. If you want to manipulate the sizes of the matrices, you can add and subtract rows and columns accordingly. I'm just going to keep this as a 2 by 2 here. And then you just need to enter in the elements where you want them to go. So I'm just going to make something up right here. And then if you want to submit that as your matrix that you want to define as A, you hit this other blue button with the arrow there, and that will define that as such. Yeah, and then I'll define a new matrix. So if I wanted to call it, let's say, like F, then I could just hit F and then hit new matrix, and then it'll call that F if you wanted to call it that. Otherwise, without hitting F, then you just hit new matrix, or just call it B and go alphabetically, as I said. And then, okay, let's just make up some numbers for this, and I will submit that. Yeah, so now that I've defined a couple matrices, you can do a lot of different sorts of matrix arithmetic with these sorts of things. So of course, like, you can add and subtract the matrices. So if I want to do like A plus F, then it'll just automatically add the two matrices together for you. Or if I delete the plus sign there, you can see that it will also multiply matrices. And then of course you can see like what you get there with A times F. And then if I were to switch the order, F times A is not the same, again illustrating the fact that matrix multiplication is not commutative. Some other buttons that you kind of have to be able to access is if I take A, and then let's say that I wanted to multiply A with itself, so do A times A, you could just hit the square button, and that'll do A times A. So notice that A squared is the same thing as A times A that you get there. You also have this button down here that after you type in the name of the matrix, you can hit the one that's got the superscript -1, and that's going to allow you to find an inverse. So anytime you get like decimals like this and you want to know what the exact actual like fraction it is, then you can just hit that button right here, and it'll just convert all your decimals to fractions, and it's a much nicer, cleaner way to be able to represent what you get from your matrix there. Yeah, you can also multiply by scalars and such. So if you want to do like 3 times F and then subtract a fifth of A, then you can do that sort of stuff accordingly as well. And then another cool aspect of what you're able to do here as well is you can also find determinants of matrices. So recall that a determinant is a number associated with every square matrix, so you can only do it if it was like a 3 by 3 or a 7 by 7 or something. So since I have 2 by 2s, of course you're going to be able to find a determinant. So if you hit determinant right there, DET, then you just put in the matrix that you want to find the determinant for. So for example, determinant of F will be 20, because of course you just do the 10 times the 2, which is 20, and then the -1 times the 0 is 0, and then you just do 20 minus 0, which gives you the 20 there.